starts from here, duodenojejunal flexure. So this flexure is known as the duodenojejunal flexure, which is the junction of the duodenum and the jejunum. Okay, and the jejunum and the ileum, they are the mobile parts of the small intestine. Okay, so when you ask the extent of the jejunum and the ileum, so it starts from the duodenojejunal flexure. So this is the duodenojejunal flexure up to the ileocecal junction. So this is the extent of the jejunum and the ileum. Okay, and they are arranged in coils. So here you can see number of coils. Okay, so the jejunum and the ileum, so they are arranged in coils. So is this clear? The extent of the small intestine and the extent of the jejunum and the ileum. So these are the coils of the jejunum and ileum. So this is the posterior abdominal wall. Now the jejunum and the ileum, so they are suspended from the posterior abdominal wall by a fold of peritoneum. Okay, so this is the fold of the peritoneum and which is known as the mesentery. Okay, so this is the mesentery. Okay, so this is the mesentery, which is nothing but the fold of the peritoneum through which the jejunum and the ileum are attached to the posterior abdominal wall. Okay, now the total length of the jejunum and the ileum is 6 meters, or you can say it's 20 feet long. So out of this, so out of 20 feet, the proximal 2/5 part is the jejunum. Okay, only the proximal 2/5 is the jejunum, which measures 8 feet, and the distal 3/5 part. So this part is the ileum, and it measures 20 feet. So is this clear? So the proximal 2/5. So this part is the jejunum. The distal 3/5 part is the ileum, and jejunum measures 8 feet, and this is the ileum. It measures 12 feet. So the total length of the jejunum and the ileum is 20 feet. Now coming to the jejunum here, see. So these are the quadrants of the abdomen. So it is divided into 4 main quadrants. So there are 9 regions as well, but these are the quadrants. Okay, so can anyone tell me how this quadrant is divided? How it is divided into 4 quadrants? What are these lines? And where are you supposed to draw these lines? The vertical and the horizontal lines. Anyone? You have already finished anterior abdominal wall, isn't it? Who is there? How the abdomen is divided into 4 quadrants? Can you hear me or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, how it is divided
By
into 4
middle plane
quadrants?
and transverse plane.
Can you tell me again?
By transverse plane and middle plane.
Okay, where are you supposed to draw this transverse plane or a horizontal plane? What is the level? What is the level of this horizontal plane? Hmm?
Level of umbilicus, ma'am.
Okay, good. So this line is drawn at the level of the umbilicus, and this line is drawn at the linea alba. So the linea alba, as you all know, it extends from the. So what is the extent of the linea alba? It extends from the xiphoid process up to the upper part of the pubic symphysis. Now, this vertical and the horizontal lines divide the abdomen into 4 quadrants. Now, this figure you can see, so most of the parts of the jejunum, they lie in the left upper quadrant of the abdomen. So, this is the left upper quadrant of the abdomen. Okay, so this is the location here. And jejunum is an empty tube and it measures 4 centimeter. So, it is 4 centimeter wide. Okay, the width of the jejunum is 4 centimeter. Now, coming to the important part, the important 9 regions of the abdomen. So the jejunum, it mainly occupies the umbilical region. So what are these lines? So these are the 2 vertical lines which you draw at the level of the, so what is the level of these 2 lines? Vertical lines, you start to draw from the mid-clavicular line and below it ends at the mid-inguinal point. Okay. And this horizontal plane, so this is known as the transpyloric plane, and this is known as the transtubercular plane. Okay, you should be very familiar with these lines and these 9 regions. So when the abdomen is divided into 9 different regions, the jejunum, it mainly occupies the umbilical region. Now come to the mode of blood supply. Okay, in this figure again you can see. So this is the mesentery here through which the small intestine is suspended to the posterior abdominal wall. So this is the posterior abdominal wall here. Okay, so here you can see number of arteries. So these are the jejunal arteries. Okay, and these jejunal arteries, they arise from the left side of the superior mesenteric artery. Now this is the superior mesenteric artery here. Okay, which is a branch of the abdominal aorta, and these jejunal arteries arise from the left side of the superior mesenteric artery, and they run between the layers of the mesentery. Now this mesentery, it consists of 2 layers, and these jejunal arteries, they run between the 2 layers of the mesentery. Now here you can see these jejunal arteries, they again divide into number of branches, and they form an arch here. Can you make out this arch? So these are the arches. Now these arches are known as the arterial arcades. Okay, so this is important. So I repeat it again. The jejunal arteries arise from the left side of the superior mesenteric artery, and they run between the layers of the mesentery. And here the artery divides into number of branches here, and they form an arch. And these arch are known as the arterial arches. So these are the arterial arches here. You can see the single row of arterial arches here. Okay, so these arches are known as the arterial arches. Now, from the arterial arches, another vessels arise. You can see here, so they are straight. So, from this arches, the straight vessels arise, and they are known as the vasa recta. Okay, and here you can see these vasa recta, they are entering to the jejunum here to supply it. Okay, so these are the vasa recta. And these jejunal arteries, they form 1 or 2 rows of arterial arches. So here you can see only 1 row, or maybe somewhere 2 rows. So the jejunal arteries, they form only 1 or 2 rows of arterial arches. And the length of the jejunal vasa recta is 4 centimeter long. Okay, so this is the jejunal vasa recta, which is 4 centimeter long, and it's an in artery. Okay, and in this figure also you can see, so this light yellow color, so this is the mesentery here. So this is the superior mesenteric artery. So these are the jejunal arteries. They divide and they form the arterial arcades here. From the arches, the straight vessels arise like this. So they are the jejunal vasa recta, and they are 4 centimeter long, and they are in arteries. Okay, so is this clear? So this is the mode of blood supply to the jejunum. Now coming to another important point, that is the distribution of fat within the mesentery of the jejunum. Okay, as you all know, so this is the jejunum here, and this is the mesentery here. Okay, now in case of jejunum, the distribution of fat is along the root of the mesentery. That is, so this is the free part of the mesentery, and here you have the attached part of the mesentery. Now the attached part is known as the root of the mesentery. So in case of jejunum, the fat is distributed along the root, along this side. Okay, so this side of the mesentery, you find more fat here. So hence what happens, so these are the vasa recta, seen very nicely in this figure. So these are the vasa recta. Now in between the vasa recta, you can see one triangular shaped structure, and they are known as the windows. Okay, so between the vasa recta vessels, you can see this, not triangular, sorry, they are rectangular shaped structures. So they are known as the windows. So in case of jejunum, as the fat are moved towards the root of the mesentery, these windows are transparent. Okay, so you find transparent or the translucent windows in case of jejunum. And this is one of the important differentiating points of jejunum from ileum. Okay, so it's very important to understand this. So is this clear? So I'll explain again in this figure. So this is the jejunum here. Okay, this is thick wall. It is 4 centimeter wide here. Then see, these are the jejunal branches forming an arterial arcade. So these are known as the arterial arcades. So here you can see 1 or maybe 2 rows of arterial arcades. Now these are the straight vessels arising from the arch. They are known as the vasa recta. So it is 4 centimeter long. Now within the vasa recta, what do you find? You find the translucent windows. Okay, so they are known as the translucent windows. So why you can see the windows as translucent or transparent in case of jejunum because the fat are distributed more towards the root. They are not distributed in the jejunum here, but they are distributed more towards the root of the mesentery. That's why you find translucent windows between the vasa recta in case of jejunum. So is this clear? Are you clear with jejunum? Come on, communicate. It's like one-way communication.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now coming to the ileum, another part of the small intestine. Now the ileum, so this is the ileum here, okay? Orange color part. So this is the ileum. It is only 3.5 centimeter wide. So jejunum is 4 cm wide, whereas ileum is 3.5 centimeter wide. And it is thin wall. And it is less vascular than jejunum. Jejunum is more vascular, okay? And when you feel the jejunum, it is empty. But when you feel the ileum, it is loaded. Okay, so when you come to this section, feel it. So what happens? The jejunum feels empty, whereas the ileum is always loaded. Okay, and see the location. Okay, so ileum, it occupies the right lower quadrant of the abdominal cavity. Okay, so it occupies the right lower quadrant of the abdominal cavity. So here you can see. So this is cecum here. So this is also on the right side, and this is the ileum. Now, among these 9 regions, it mainly occupies the hypogastric region. So this is the hypogastric and some part of the right iliac region. So, okay, hypogastric and some part of the right iliac region. Now, coming to the motor blood supply in case of ileum. So again, here you can see the superior mesenteric artery, and you can see number of ileal arteries. Okay, so number of ileal arteries, they also arise from the left side of the superior mesenteric artery here. Then again, these ileal arteries, they branch and they divide into number of branches, which again form an arcade. So they are known as the arterial arcades. See the difference between jejunal blood supply and the ileal blood supply. See the jejunal, in case of jejunum, you find only one or maybe two rows of arcades, but in case of ileum, you can find three or more rows of arterial arcades. So see the difference. See one, two, and the three. Three rows of arterial arcades you find in the ileum. And from here also, you can see the straight vessels arising and supplying the ileum. So these are the vasa recta here. And the length of the vasa recta of ileum is only 1.25 centimeter. Okay, that's also another difference. Again, in this figure, you can see. So these are the ileal branches forming the arterial arcades. So one, two, maybe three rows of arterial arcades here. So these are the vasa recta. They are comparatively shorter than the jejunal vasa recta. So its length is only 1.25 centimeter. Okay. Now, another important point is these ileal arteries, they do not supply the terminal 10 to 12 centimeter of the ileum. Okay. So the terminal 10 to 12 centimeter of the ileum, okay, the fixed part of the ileum, it is supplied by the ileal branch of the ileocolic artery. So here again you can see abdominal aorta. So this is the superior mesenteric artery here, and this is the ileocolic artery. So the ileocolic artery supplies the terminal 10 to 12 centimeter of the ileum, and the rest of the part of the ileum is supplied by the ileal branches and the vasa recta. Okay. So this figure is very important. All of you keep in mind. See how the jejunal and the ileal arteries, they are around 12 to 15 in number. So there are 12 to 15 number jejunal as well as ileal arteries. Both the arteries, they arise from the superior mesenteric artery here, and they divide and they form the arterial arcades. So in case of jejunum, the arterial arcades are only one or two, but in case of ileum, there are three or more. Okay. And from the arcade, another straight vessels arise. They are known as the vasa recta. Now, the jejunal vasa recta is 4 cm long, whereas the ileal vasa recta is only 1.25 centimeter long. And another important part is the terminal, the 10 to 12 centimeter of the ileum is supplied by the ileal branch of the ileocolic artery. Now, coming to the distribution of fat in mesentery of ileum. See, this figure you can see. So this is the fat. Okay, so it is distributed along uniformly along the whole breadth of the mesentery. So in this case, you will not find the translucent windows in between the vasa recta. Okay, so this part is opaque here because here you find fat. Okay, so this part is not translucent in case of ileum because of the uniformly distribution of the fat along the whole breadth of the mesentery. So In case of jejunum, you find the translucent windows, but in case of ileum, you will not find the translucent windows. Okay, so this is the difference. See, the arterial arch is 4 to 5. Vasa recta, so between the vasa recta, the windows are opaque. Okay, now coming to another important part, that is mesentery. So this is the mesentery here. So it is a broad fan-shaped fold of peritoneum, consists of two layers, and within the layers you will find this jejunal and the ileal arteries running. Okay, so this mesentery, it suspends the jejunum and ileum from the posterior abdominal wall. Now it has got two borders. Okay, the vertebral border, the attached part. So this is the vertebral border of the mesentery, which is also known as the root of the mesentery, and this is the intestinal border. Okay, which is also known as the free border of the mesentery. So this is the free border. So it is like a frill. Okay, it is also known as the frill border. You can see this is the frill border. In this figure also you can see the intestinal border is the frill border, and this is the vertebral border is also known as the root of the mesentery. Now this frill border is 6 meters long. Now the root of mesentery, that is the vertebral border. Okay, this is one of the important spotter question. You can mark it. So the length of the root of the mesentery is 15 centimeter long. So here you can see it is running obliquely. Okay, it doesn't have a straight course, but it runs obliquely from left to the right side. Okay, so it extends from the duodenojejunal flexure. So this is the duodenojejunal flexure here. So it extends from the duodenojejunal flexure to the right side. Okay, that is still the ileocecal junction. So this is the ileocecal junction. So it extends from the duodenojejunal flexure to the ileocecal junction, or you can write it extends from the left side of the second lumbar vertebra L2 up to the right sacroiliac joint. So this is the extent of the root of the mesentery. Okay, it's running obliquely, so you have to remember it's coming from left to the right side. L2 to the right sacroiliac joint. And in this figure, you can see this is the posterior abdominal wall, this yellow color marked part. So this is the root of the mesentery. And there are so many structures which are crossed by the root of the mesentery. Okay, so from above downwards, they are. So this is the transverse part. So this is the third part of the duodenum here. The next is the abdominal aorta. So this red color structure is the abdominal aorta. Then the inferior vena cava. Then here you can see the gonadal vessels, right gonadal vessels. So that is right testicular vessels in case of male, and they are right ovarian vessels in case of females. Or you can write the right gonadal vessels here. Then right ureter, this white color structure here. So this is the right ureter. Then the right psoas major muscle. Then right genitofemoral nerve, and finally the right sacroiliac joint. Okay, so these are the structures which are crossed by the root of the mesentery. This is also another important SAQ, or can be asked in spotter. The structures crossed by the root of the mesentery from above downwards. Now coming to the contents. So what are the contents of this mesentery? So here also you can see, so this is a mesentery here. So what does it contain? So it contains jejunum as well as ileum itself. So one of the important content of the mesentery is jejunum and ileum. Then here you can see number of branches. So they are the jejunal and the ileal branches of the superior mesenteric artery. Then intestinal lymphatics, they are known as lacteals, then lymph nodes, the plexus of nerves, then the loose areolar tissue. So these are the contents of the mesentery. Now come to the difference between jejunum and ileum. Okay. Now it's just a revision. So jejunum is an empty tube as said, but whereas the ileum is usually loaded, and it is 4 centimeter wide. So the jejunum is more wider than the ileum, and it is more vascular than the ileum. Now, among the coils of the small intestine, the proximal 2/5 is the jejunum, whereas the distal 3/5 is the ileum. And jejunum is supplied by 1 to 2 rows of the arterial arteries, whereas the ileum is supplied by the ileal branches, which form 3 or more arterial arcades. Okay. Now, the jejunal vasa recta is 4 centimeter long, whereas the ileal vasa recta are short. It measures only 1.25 centimeter. Now, in case of jejunum, the fat is distributed along the root of the mesentery. That's why you'll find the translucent windows between the vasa recta. But in case of ileum, the fat is distributed along the whole breadth of the mesentery, so you will not find the translucent windows in case of ileum. Okay, this is very important. And if you take a section of jejunum and you observe it under microscope, you can see number of finger-like projections, so they are known as villi. So villi are longer and they are more numerous in case of jejunum, whereas in case of ileum, the villi are shorter and they are less in number. Okay, here's mistake. So there's less in number. Then coming to the Peyer's patches. Okay, so Peyer's patches, they're nothing but the aggregation of the lymphoid follicles. Okay, so they are very less in number in case of jejunum, but one of the identification of the ileum is the Peyer's patches are more, but you find the Peyer's patches in case of ileum. Okay, so that is the differences between the jejunum and ileum. In this figure also you can see. See, this is the jejunum here. It is white. So this is the ileum here. Okay. See the wall. The wall is thicker here. So you find thin wall in case of ileum. And see the arterial arches. So you find only one row of arterial arches here. So in case of ileum, you find three or more rows of arterial arches here. See the vasa recta. So the vasa recta is 4 centimeter long. See the ileal vasa recta, it is short and it measures only 1.25 centimeter. Now see the distribution of fat within the mesentery of the jejunums. As they are distributed along the root of the mesentery, you can find the translucent windows here. Okay, and in case of ileum, as they are uniformly distributed along the whole breadth of the mesentery, so you will not find the translucent windows here. Okay, so in jejunum, you will not find the Peyer's patches, but in ileum, you find the Peyer's patches. So that is the difference between the jejunum and the ileum. Now come to the internal features, and this you'll read in detail when you have histology classes, but I'll just tell you the differences here. So when you take a section of the intestine, you find these layers. So outermost is the serosa layer, then comes the muscles layer. So this is known as the muscularis externa. So it is surrounded by two layers of muscles, the outer longitudinal and then the circular muscle layer. The next is the submucous. This is from outside to inside. Okay, so this is the submucosa layer. Then comes the mucosa layer. So here you can find the villi here. Now see the difference here. See, these are the villi which are very tall in case of jejunum, and see the villi in case of ileum. They are very short and broad. Okay, the villi are short and broad here. And in submucosa, here you will not find the Peyer's patches, but in case of ileum, you find the Peyer's patches. So these are the Peyer's patches, the aggregation of the lymphoid follicles or the lymphoid nodi. So these are the differences between the jejunum and the ileum. Now come to the venous drainage. The veins of the jejunum and the ileum, like they run together with the corresponding arteries, and they finally drain into the superior mesenteric vein, which finally drains into the portal system. That is the portal vein. And the nerve supply, again, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. So sympathetic supply is from T10 to T11 segment of the spinal cord. Okay, so they are known as the lesser splanchnic nerves, and the pain sensation is mainly carried by this nerve. And parasympathetic supply is from the vagus, so stimulation of the vagus promotes peristalsis. Now, coming to the different important applied aspects of the small intestine. So, one of the important is applied aspect is the mucus diverticulum. Okay, so it is a congenital defect, or you can say the developmental defect. It occurs or it is present due to the persistence of the proximal part of the vitalo-intestinal duct. Okay, this again you read in the development of the gastrointestinal tract, but I would like to mention here as an important applied aspect. Okay, so it, as I said, it is a developmental defect, so it is not always present. So whenever it's present, it arises from the anti-mesenteric border of the ileum. So here you can see the ileum. So this is the diverticulum, which arises from the anti-mesenteric border, and it's mainly remembered by the rule of two, because it is present in 2% of people. Okay, so it's present in 2% of people, and it lies 2 feet proximal to the ileocecal junction, and it is 2 inches long. Okay, and whenever it's present and it gets infected, the symptoms are similar to that of the acute appendicitis. Okay, so this is the mucus diverticulum. Then the cyst. So you'll also find the cyst in mesentery. So they're known as the mesenteric cyst. So a person may present as a painless swelling near the umbilicus. Then tuberculosis of the intestine can also occur. Here you can see the tuberculosis of the intestine. See the ulcers here. Then typhoid ulcers are very common. So this is the figure of the typhoid ulcer, the vertical shape vertically running also you can see here, because because of the presence of the Pierce patches in the ileum is more common there, and the Pierce patches may ulcerate and they form an ulcer. Then parasitic infestations like the hookworm infestation, the roundwood infestations are also very common in small intestine and especially in children. And inflammation of the small intestine is known as enteritis. Okay, so these are the important clinical aspects, and one of the another important aspect is intersusception. Okay, so what is intersusception? So in this figure also you can see. So this is the cecum here. You can see the appendix. So this is the ileocecal junction. So this is the ileum here. Okay, it's the gut part, the interior here. So this is ileum. This is cecum here. So in intersusception, what happens? The segment of one part of the intestine invaginates to the other part of the intestine through a lumen. Okay, and one of why I'm showing this figure is one of the common site is the terminal part of the ileum, or you can say at the level of the ileocecal junction. Okay, so terminal part of the ileum or at the level of the ileocecal junction, you can see the invagination of one part or one segment of the intestine into the other part. So this is known as the intersusception. So in this figure also you can see ileum here entering here to the colon. So this is the intersusception. So these are the important applied aspects of the small intestine. Okay, mucus tuberculum, you read it again in development. Then the cyst, tuberculosis of intestine, then ulcers of intestine, especially in typhoid fever, the parasitic infestations common in children, and then enteritis, intersusception. So this completes the